Alright, so welcome back to the regularly scheduled program on beating a local drama, alright? Now, today I want to talk about PSLE and why it's so difficult. Now, the reason I want to talk about this is because of what happened earlier in Parliament today. Mr. Desmond Lee, the Minister of Education, gave all the other members of Parliament a PSLE question for them to solve, alright? Now, for those of you who don't know what PSLE is, it's basically a board exam where all Singaporean students at the age of 12 have to take it, alright? This is to like help them decide their secondary school or high school for the non-Singaporeans out there. Right, at the age of 12 and deciding your high school through exams, it's a very high stakes thing, which is the first part of the problem. It's really high stakes, right? 12-year-olds should be learning how to have fun and learning how the world like basically works, not having to compete for seats in a high school where like in other countries you just enroll into a high school with money or like something like that. You need grades to get into a high school, right? This creates like a stigma of like some schools are good and some schools are bad. Right? Of course, it's the parental pressure, which I'll get into in a short while, but yeah, that's the first like big thing, alright? Now, Mr. Lee also, the question that Mr. Lee shared was about like some water tank question. I don't really remember what the question was, but it's some water tank question. The thing that he said that this type of question can help students develop critical thinking, which to give him an ounce of credit, I do agree that like critical thinking is important. Memory isn't like king anymore. You do need skills, but like again, at the age of 12, I don't think it is that like necessary to develop such advanced skills, right? And to further prove my point of like advanced skills, he said that this type of question can help students get into engineering. And why the fuck would 12-year-olds be thinking about getting into universities that early on, alright? Most 12-year-olds want to learn like how the world works, how to play, how to have fun, not having to like compete to get into secondary school and then get into a college and then get into a university. It is so genuinely fucked up, alright? And now this is the part that is gonna like blow some people off, right? I genuinely think PSLE is the hardest exam in Singapore, right? It is harder than O levels and it's harder than A levels, right? Now, of course, you may be wondering, what the fuck do you mean? Like O levels and A levels are multiple like times harder than PSLE. Which, if you base it on sheer difficulty, yes, of course, I've taken both PSLE and O levels, and of course, O levels is way more difficult. But again, you have to remember that 12-year-olds are taking PSLE, and 16-year-olds and 17-year-olds are taking O levels, right? Now, 16 and 17-year-olds have like the mindset and like they have the brain to take O levels, and they can understand. Most 12-year-olds don't understand how big of an impact this is for them. Like PSLE, they just want to get it done and over with. In fact, from my experience, I only wanted to do well in PSLE, not because to get into a good school, only just to make my parents happy. That's the only reason I wanted to do it. It had no effect on me. I did not care that I didn't score that well in PSLE. In fact, I'll say it right now, I scored an AL22 in PSLE, and I did not care that much. But my parents did care, and I was pretty sad that my parents did care. I was only sad because my parents were sad, right? O levels, of course, I realized that it is my future and not their future, right? But in 12-year-olds aren't supposed to be thinking of their future, right? And now the part where like PSLE is most difficult is because PSLE is also entirely set by SEAB, the Singapore Examinations Assessment Board, which they set notoriously difficult questions all the time. Now, unlike O levels and A levels, which is also partly set by Cambridge, so that some easy questions could slip through, and like their standards are a bit different. It's entirely set by SEAB, so they can do whatever the fuck they want. They can give the most difficult questions on the planet to them, right? Which is honestly so deranged by them, right? Anyways, yeah, that's about it. By the way, when during the parliament meeting, right, one of them said that their cortisol levels were spiking really high, which I can understand. Alright, the question was also pretty hard. I couldn't solve it at first glance. I could probably eventually do it, but like I couldn't do it like at first glance, which kind of shows a lot of stuff. Right, in fact, it's not like I'm stupid or anything. I've heard of a lot of Sec4 students not being able to solve PSLE questions because of just how brain dead they are. Like, why are they so flipping hard? Like, it doesn't need to be that deep. It's not that deep, alright? Anyways, yeah, that's about it. My cortisol levels are also spiking because I've retaken this like so many times. I finally got a good one, right? If there's any starters, I'm too tired to fix it anymore, right? Thank you guys for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.